Chapter 1. In the kingdom of Harion, dancing was completely forbidden, regardless of what kind. 300 years ago, before dancing became an unforgivable crime, dancers were not entertainers. They were weapons. They did not need blades. They did not need armies. A single body, moving in the right rhythm, could quiet a crowd, twist a noble's thoughts, or turn loyalty into something else entirely. It was subtle. That was what made it dangerous. No one knew when it was happening. No one knew when they had already been influenced, so the crown ended it. Not slowly or carefully. They ended it completely. Dance was outlawed, erased. Those accused of dancing were dragged to the dungeons, left to rot, forgotten, erased quietly enough that no one asked questions. But those accused of dancing with influence, those who made people feel it, follow it, change because of it, they were executed, because power like that could not be contained. And today, they decided I had it. "I didn't do it," I said. My voice cracked this time. The rope burned against my throat as I shifted, the fibers rough, already digging into skin that hadn't even been broken yet. My wrists were bound so tightly behind me that my fingers had long since gone numb, but I barely felt it.
"I saw her,"
a soft voice said. It belonged to Malia, the only daughter of the most powerful lord of the Fae Kingdom. Of course, she stood at the front like she belonged there, like this was her place, her moment. A lord's daughter, polished and untouchable, her presence alone enough to tip the balance against me. She had always hated me. For reasons I had never understood, I was nothing. A servant in the kitchens, half human, forgotten, invisible. And yet, she had always looked at me like I was something she wanted gone.
"She wasn't careful,"
Malia continued, her voice soft. Too soft. It slipped through the silence like it belonged there. I closed my eyes for half a second. Of course she would sound calm. Of course she would make it sound reasonable.
"I didn't want to say anything at first. I truly didn't,"
she went on, almost regretful.
"But when I saw her again, moving like that..."
A pause, perfectly placed, just long enough.
"It didn't feel like harmless movement."
A murmur spread, low, uneasy, and something in my chest tightened, not just from fear, from wrongness. This wasn't how it was done. Those accused of dancing were dragged to the dungeons, forgotten, erased quietly enough that no one asked questions. And those accused of dancing with influence, those who actually made people move, they weren't displayed like this. They were executed in private, quick, controlled, hidden, because the court feared what even watching it might do. My breath caught. So why was I here? Why was this a spectacle? My eyes snapped to Malia, and this time, I understood. She hadn't just accused me. She had arranged this, used her father's name, his power, his reach, pushed it high enough, loud enough, until no one questioned it, until it became public, until it became irreversible. My stomach dropped. This wasn't about law. This was about making sure everyone saw me die. "She's lying!" I snapped, the panic breaking through now, sharp and ugly. "She didn't see anything. She just doesn't like me. That's all this is. You all know that—"
"Careful,"
someone whispered. Not to me, to themselves. Because defending me was dangerous, and they knew it.
"She didn't just move,"
Malia said, and now there was something underneath her voice, something colder, something deliberate.
"The air changed. People felt it. I felt it."
That did it. That was enough, because that was the difference. Anyone could be thrown into the dungeon for suspicion. But if people believed you had influence, If they believed your movement could affect others. You didn't get locked away. You got killed. She's lying, I said, louder now, my voice shaking despite everything I did to hold it steady. You're all listening to her because of who she is. That's it. That's the only reason. No one responded. Not one person. The silence that followed was worse than anything Malia had said, because it meant they believed her. Or worse, they didn't care if it was true. The platform creaked. The executioner stepped behind me. My breath caught. No, no, no. This wasn't happening. Not like this. Not for this. I twisted slightly. Instinctive. Useless. Wait, please. Just listen to me. I didn't do anything. I didn't dance. I swear I didn't.
Enough.
The executioner boomed. The word came from behind me, cold, final, not shouted, decided. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. This was it. This was actually it. My thoughts started slipping, unraveling faster than I could hold on to them. The crowd blurred at the edges. The rope pressed tighter against my throat as the executioner adjusted it. I couldn't breathe. I didn't want to die. Not because of her. Not because of a lie. My eyes snapped to Malia. She was watching me. Still calm. Still composed. But now there was something there. Satisfaction. Small. Barely visible, but real. My stomach dropped. She wanted this. She had always wanted this. I hated her. I hated this kingdom. I hated that no one was stopping it. The executioner moved. The rope tightened. The platform shifted. I closed my eyes. Then...
Stop.
Everything froze. The word didn't echo. It didn't need to. It cut straight through the moment like it had been waiting for it. The rope stilled. The executioner halted. The entire courtyard shifted. Guards moved first, not by command, but by instinct, stepping aside as if something more important had entered the space without asking permission. And then he walked through. Draymond Vane, the Fae King. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. Each step was slow, deliberate, like he was enjoying the interruption. Like this moment, interested him. My pulse stumbled. Not from relief, from something colder, more dangerous. He looked at me immediately. Not at Malia, not at the executioner, not at the crowd. Me. And then... He smiled, not kindly, not even slightly. Cruel, amused. Like he had just found something entertaining in the middle of something dull. He stopped at the base of the platform, tilting his head as he looked up at me, taking me in. The rope, the fear, the situation, and finding it interesting. Someone near the crowd spoke quickly, almost nervously.
She was accused of dancing, Your Majesty. Dancing with influence.
A pause. Draymond's smile didn't fade. If anything, it deepened.
Is that so?
He said softly. The way he said it made something twist in my chest. Because it didn't sound like concern. It sounded like... opportunity. He stepped closer. Close enough that I could feel it. That shift in the air around him. Power, controlled, ancient, and completely unconcerned with anything happening here. His gaze stayed on me. Unblinking, interested. Then...
Dance for me.
The words landed like a blade. The entire courtyard went still. No one moved. No one breathed. Because he hadn't just stopped the execution. He had demanded the exact act that would justify it. My body locked. This was a trick. It had to be. The Fae were known for it. Games, bargains, watching people destroy themselves while pretending it was their choice. If I danced, I would die. If I refused, I would die now. My heart slammed against my ribs. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. His eyes didn't leave mine. And there was something in them. Not kindness, not mercy. Hunger for reaction, for choice, for what I would do when I realized I had none. He tilted his head slightly, that same cruel amusement still resting on his mouth. Then,
Let's make a bargain,
he said. Soft, easy, like this was all a game.
If you dance for me,
A pause, just long enough for it to settle.
I'll let you live.
Silence. Heavy. Waiting. My fingers curled against the rope. My breath shook. My mind screamed that this was a trap, that this was how I died anyway. But beneath the fear, something else rose. Something colder, more familiar. Control. Slowly, very slowly, I lifted my head fully and met his gaze. Chapter 2. The rope was still around my neck. I didn't forget that. Even as the courtyard held its breath, even as every eye fixed on me like I was something already decided, I felt it, rough against my skin, waiting. If you dance for me, I'll let you live. My heart pounded, too fast, too loud, but my thoughts slowed, because panic hadn't saved me. Begging hadn't saved me, and truth had done nothing at all. This was the only thing left, not a good choice, not a safe one, but a choice. And the worst part, the part I had spent years pretending wasn't there, was that Malia wasn't entirely wrong. I had never danced, not truly, not the way they meant it, but there had always been something off. A step I took too smoothly, a turn that felt too natural, moments where my body moved in a way that didn't belong to me, and someone nearby would shift. A servant dropping a cup, a guard adjusting his stance like he hadn't meant to, a noble blinking too slowly, like something had brushed past their thoughts. Small things, forgettable things, easy to dismiss. So I had. Because the alternative would have gotten me killed long before today. My fingers twitched behind my back. The rope brushed my throat as I lifted my chin. If I was going to die, I wouldn't do it afraid. Slowly, I moved. He wanted a performance, and I will give him one. My foot pressed into the wood beneath me, weight transferring with quiet precision. My shoulders followed, subtle, controlled despite the bindings, my wrist turning just enough to create a line instead of a break. The air changed, barely. But I felt it, like something aligning. My breath evened, not calm, focused. The next movement came smoother. A step that didn't look like a step, a turn that barely registered as one. And yet, something in the courtyard slipped. A guard's fingers twitched. Just once. He didn't notice, didn't react. But I saw it. I didn't look at him again. I kept moving. Another shift. Slower this time. Deliberate. My body found a rhythm that wasn't there before. No external sound or music, just the quiet, steady pulse of something internal. It was like I was moving to a music in my head no one else could hear. It wasn't meant to be beautiful. That wasn't what this was. It was precise, controlled, wrong. A noblewoman's lips curved slightly. Not a smile, not intentional, just pulled. She blinked after, frowning faintly, like she didn't understand why her face had moved at all. A servant's shoulders relaxed. Too much, too suddenly, then tensed again. The space between people softened, not visibly, not enough to alarm them, but enough to change something, and none of them noticed, except him. I didn't need to look to know, but I did anyway. Draymond hadn't moved. Not once, not even slightly. No twitch, no shift, no loss of control. He stood exactly as he had before, untouched, unaffected, and his smile. It grew, slowly, deliberately. Like something had just confirmed itself. My stomach dropped. He knew, not just what I was doing, what it meant. This wasn't a test. This was confirmation. My next movement sharpened. Not bigger, just deeper. My weight shifted forward, my shoulders rolling back as my spine straightened fully, not in fear, not in defense, in command, and the courtyard followed. Not openly, not consciously, but it followed. A guard leaned forward, a noble stilled too completely. A breath caught where it shouldn't have. The silence deepened. Not because they chose it, because something in them aligned with it. And still, they didn't know. That was the terrifying part. I felt it then, that edge, that line, the one I had always stopped before, the one I had always pulled back from without understanding why. If I crossed it, this would stop being subtle. This would become undeniable. I hesitated, just for a second, then I stopped. Completely. The rhythm snapped. The air shifted back. The guard straightened abruptly, his brow furrowing. The noble blinked, her lips pressing together in confusion. The servant stiffened, like she had just realized she'd moved. A ripple of discomfort spread through the courtyard. Small, uncertain, wrong. I stood still, breath steady, rope still at my throat, and waited. Draymond was still smiling, not amused anymore. Satisfied.
Interesting.
He murmured. The words slid through the silence like it belonged there. Then he looked away from me, casually, like what had just happened was already decided.
House her in the East Wing.
He said. A shocked pause. Then, almost as an afterthought,
Put her in the room across from mine.
the courtyard erupted. Nobles shouted.
Your Majesty.
That's not... You can't... This is against the law.
Your Majesty, she's bewitched you.
The words overlapped, louder, sharper, fear finally breaking through their control. Bewitched. The word hit harder than anything else. I almost laughed, not out loud, never that. But inside, it twisted into something bitter. Because they believed that. They believed he was the one being influenced. When they were the ones who had moved, who had shifted, who had followed something they didn't even know they felt. My gaze flicked across them. The guard who had leaned. None of them understood. None of them even realized. And yet they called it bewitching. My lips almost curved. Almost. Draymond didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to.
Do you intend to argue with me?
He asked lightly. Silence slammed back into place. Immediate. Absolute. Because this was real power. Not the kind they feared in me. The kind they obeyed without question. He looked back at me then. And there was something different in his gaze now. Interest, amusement, and decision.
You'll be watched.
He said softly. Not a threat, not a warning. A promise. My chest tightened, because I understood then. This wasn't freedom, not even close. I hadn't escaped death. I had just been claimed by something worse. Chapter 3. As I stayed in the room they brought me in, I paced. I couldn't help it. The space was too large, too quiet, too clean compared to anything I had ever known. It didn't feel like a place meant to hold someone like me. It felt like a place meant to observe them. And I had too many questions to stand still. I knew something about me was off. I had always known. The way I felt the urge to move, to step, to turn, to follow something that wasn't there. The way my body sometimes shifted without permission, like it remembered something I didn't. And the moments, small, fleeting ones, when I took a step that felt too close to dancing. And someone else moved. A twitch, a shift, a reaction that didn't belong to them. I had told myself it meant nothing. I had forced myself to believe it. Because I knew what dancers were, not performers, not artists, weapons. Dancers with influence didn't just move, they changed things, people, decisions, rooms. They bent others without permission, without awareness. It was the reason dancing had been forbidden in the first place, because no one could tell who was simply just dancing from who was dancing with influence. Not until it was too late, and I had always known. There was a chance, a small, terrifying chance, that I might be one of them. But now I knew. For a fact, my steps had done something. I had seen it, the guard, the noble, the way the entire courtyard had shifted without understanding why. It had been me. The thought should have made me feel powerful. Instead, it made my stomach twist. Because if I could do that without trying, what could I do if I did try? I stopped pacing, my hands pressing flat against the cold wall. But that wasn't the only thing that didn't make sense. The Fae King, Draymon, why hadn't it worked on him? Everyone else had shifted, even if only slightly. But him, nothing, not even a twitch, and worse. He had smiled, not confused, not concerned, pleased. Like he had been waiting for it, like he had expected it. Why would he pardon me knowing what I could do? Why would he keep me close, unless... The thought didn't finish. Because it didn't need to, before I could chase it further. The door opened. Someone stepped in. King Draymon didn't walk. He strolled, like the room belonged to him, which, of course, it did. But it wasn't just that. It was the ease, the confidence, the quiet certainty that nothing in this space could challenge him. And then he smiled, that same smile, the one that made something in my chest tighten, because it didn't promise safety. It promised trouble. I stepped back instinctively, just one step, but it didn't matter. He followed. Calmly, slowly, and deliberately. Like a predator closing distance it already knew I couldn't escape. Up close. He was worse. Taller than I remembered, broad-shouldered, his presence filling the space in a way that made everything else feel smaller. His features were sharp, almost unfairly so, the kind of beauty that didn't soften anything. It made him more dangerous. My gaze flickered, just for a second. That was enough. His smirk deepened.
Enjoying the view,
He murmured. Before I could react, his hand came up, fingers brushing under my chin as he tilted my head slightly upward. Not rough or gentle. It was controlled, like everything else about him.
that performance,
He said softly, his voice dropping just enough to feel intentional.
was beautiful, Lady Siren.
My brows pulled together. Siren? What? Why would he call me that? The word didn't fit, didn't make sense. Sirens were myths, sea creatures, stories meant to scare children and sailors. What did you call me? I asked, frowning. His eyes flickered, something sharp passing through them. Then he stepped back, just enough to give space.
Are you pretending? Or you really don't know?
He asked. I shook my head, confusion tightening in my chest. Know what? His gaze studied me for a long moment, longer than necessary, like he was measuring something. Then,
So you actually weren't dancing like they claimed?
he asked. No, I snapped, exasperated. I had said that multiple times earlier. I wasn't. I stopped myself, straightened, forced control back into my voice. No, Your Majesty, I was not. He waved a hand lightly, dismissing the title as if it annoyed him.
Draymon.
He corrected.
None of that formality. It's exhausting.
I hesitated, then nodded. But he didn't let the moment settle.
So,
He continued, circling slightly, his gaze never fully leaving me.
if you weren't dancing, why would they believe you did?
I exhaled slowly, because that part I understood. Malia, I said, a lord's daughter. She's had it out for me for years. She lied and said she saw me. He stilled, not dramatically, but enough. Confusion touched his expression, brief but real.
No,
He said. The word was quiet, certain.
the executioner does not act on claims like that.
I frowned slightly. She's a lord's daughter. People listen to her. He cut me off with a slight shake of his head.
If that were true,
He said calmly.
do you know how many jealous wives, bitter neighbors, and ambitious men would accuse each other of dancing every day?
I opened my mouth, then stopped. Because he was right. It didn't make sense, not fully. Yes, Malia had power in the court. Yes, people would back her, but enough to push for execution? Enough to make it public? No, that wasn't just power. That was something else. My stomach tightened as I realized something. Executions for influence aren't public. They're done quietly. No one sees them. Yet mine was almost performed in front of everyone. Draymon was already looking at me, and then, for the first time, his expression changed. Not amusement, not curiosity, shock, real, sharp. Like something had just clicked into place, something he hadn't expected. He didn't say anything, didn't explain, didn't give me time to ask. He turned and left, just like that, the door closing behind him without hesitation, leaving me alone again, with more questions than before, and a growing, sinking feeling in my chest that whatever I was caught in was much bigger than Malia. Chapter 4. I woke up to someone watching me. Not the feeling of it, the certainty. My eyes snapped open and I jerked upright so fast the sheets tangled around my legs. He was standing at the edge of the bed, Draymon, too close. My breath caught, sharp and uneven as I scrambled back, pressing myself into the headboard like distance could undo the fact that he was already there. He laughed, soft, pleased, like my fear had entertained him. I didn't find it amusing, not even slightly. I glared at him, the fear burning off into something sharper, but just as quickly, reality snapped back into place. He was a king. He had the power to grant death. My expression tightened, shifting into something safer, controlled, polite. A smile I didn't mean. His amusement faded, not completely, but enough.
Scarla,
He said, quieter now.
you don't have to do that.
I stilled slightly.
That,
He added, gesturing faintly toward my face.
the pretending.
My brows pulled together.
Everyone else already does it.
He went on.
I don't need another person trying to be something they're not in front of me.
My fake smile slipped. I didn't know what to replace it with, so I said nothing.
You are not just my subject anymore.
He continued. Something in his tone made my stomach tighten.
You are now the person who could either protect this kingdom
A pause. Then
or destroy it.
I stared at him. What? The word slipped out before I could stop it.
That makes you my equal,
He said softly.
if not my savior.
That doesn't make any sense, I said immediately, shaking my head. I'm a servant. I was about to be executed an hour ago. How could I possibly— What do you mean? I cut in, frustration rising now, pushing past the fear. You keep saying things like that like I'm supposed to understand. I don't. He exhaled. Slow, measured, like he had expected that reaction.
300 years ago,
He began.
sirens overtook the Fae Kingdom.
I blinked. What?
They infiltrated our courts,
He continued.
used glamour from other Fae to disguise themselves. They looked like us, lived among us, ruled without being seen.
A cold unease crept into my chest. That sounded familiar. Too familiar. That's not possible, I said quickly. Sirens aren't even real. His gaze flicked to mine.
They are
He said.
what the court calls dancers with influence, are sirens.
My breath caught. No. That's not what sirens are, I said again, weaker this time. They're stories, sea creatures. They sing and—
They don't sing.
The interruption was calm, final.
They use movement.
My stomach dropped. What?
They don't pull people with sound.
He said.
They bend them with rhythm, with presence, with control so subtle the person doesn't even realize it's happening.
My head shook instinctively. No, I whispered. No, that's not—
That's what you did yesterday.
The words hit harder than anything else. I didn't— I started, then stopped. Because I had. He knew it, and I knew it. I didn't mean to, I said quickly, panic creeping in now. I didn't even realize it was happening. I moved, and then they— My voice faltered. That doesn't make me one of them, I said, quieter now, desperate. Silence. Draymond didn't argue, didn't correct me. He just watched, and somehow, that was worse. If that's true, I said, forcing the words out, then why didn't it work on you? That question had been sitting there since yesterday, heavy, unanswered.
Because I know how to protect my mind.
He said. I frowned. What does that mean?
Mental shields.
The term meant nothing to me. What are mental shields? I asked.
They protect against influence.
He said simply.
From sirens, from mind readers, from anything that attempts to alter thought or reaction.
My confusion deepened. How can you just learn something like that? A flicker of something passed through his expression.
I'll explain,
He said.
when I'm certain I can trust you.
That answer didn't sit right, but before I could press further, he continued.
For now, you need to understand something.
His tone shifted, less conversational, more decisive.
I need you to develop your power.
I stared at him. What?
I'll have you train with 3 of my most trusted people.
He said.
They can shield themselves. They won't be easily influenced.
A pause.
But they will let their guard down.
My stomach twisted.
You'll start with small tasks.
He continued.
Control, precision. Then you'll move to something more direct.
My pulse spiked.
Manipulating their minds.
The words hit like a slap. I stared at him, my mouth parting slightly in disbelief. "That's illegal," I said. "That's the very thing your kingdom, your laws."
My dead father's laws existed to protect this kingdom.
He cut in calmly. Silence.
And right now,
He added,
this kingdom is being threatened by something far worse than you.
That didn't make it better. If anything, it made it worse. Because now the question wasn't just, what am I? It was, what am I being turned into? If sirens were dangerous, if they were hunted, if they controlled people without them knowing, then why was he asking me to become one? What did he really want from me? And why did it feel like I had just traded one execution for something slower? Before I could say anything, the door opened again, this time loudly, without hesitation. A small Fae woman walked in first, tiny, almost delicate, with an angelic face that would have looked harmless if not for the sharp, mischievous glint in her eyes. Behind her came 2 tall men, both dressed in training leathers. None of them bowed. One of the men stepped forward and clasped Draymond on the shoulder like they were equals. The woman planted her hands on her hips, craning her neck up at him.
"Why haven't you come to visit the sirens?"
she demanded.
"They've been asking about their king."
My head snapped toward them. Visit the sirens? What were they talking about? My confusion must have shown, because the woman's gaze flicked to me and lit up immediately.
"Oh,"
she said, grinning.
"You must be her."
She stepped closer without hesitation.
"I'm Dinia,"
she said brightly, then jerked her thumb toward the 2 men.
"And these 2 knuckleheads are Athan and Caston."
The men frowned at her, but nodded at me in acknowledgement.
"We'll be helping you develop your gifts,"
she added. Gifts. The word felt wrong. I nodded slowly, unsure, unsteady. Dinia clapped her hands together and immediately started issuing instructions to the 2 men, quick, confident, like she was used to being listened to. They pushed back, teasing her lightly, clearly unbothered by her tone. And Draymond, he just watched. Calm, familiar, like this wasn't unusual, like this was normal. I stared at the 4 of them, at the way they moved around each other, the ease, the history, the unspoken understanding, and friendship. Like they belonged to each other, like they had always belonged. Something in my chest tightened. I had never had that, never been part of anything like that. Malia had made sure of it, and being half human, that hadn't helped. Weak. That was what they called me. My gaze dropped briefly. If only they knew, if only I had known, that I wasn't human at all, that I was something they feared. I looked up again, and found Draymond watching me. His expression had softened, just slightly, and when our eyes met, he smiled, not cruel this time, not mocking. Something quieter, more knowing.
"All right,"
Dinia said suddenly, clapping her hands again.
"Enough standing around.
She grabbed my wrist without hesitation.
We're going to the siren camp."
My breath caught. The siren camp? What? But before I could ask, she was already pulling me toward the door, and I had no choice but to follow. Chapter 5. The siren camp was actually not in some faraway place. It was very close to the palace, close enough that I could still feel it, the weight of it behind me, and apparently it led to the dungeons, the prisons. My stomach twisted slightly at that. I looked at Draymond, my brows pulling together in silent question. He didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge me at all. Like he already knew what I was thinking, and chose not to answer. We reached the gate, tall, iron, plain in a way that felt deliberate. This was supposed to be the siren camp? I frowned slightly. We stepped inside. Nothing. Empty. Quiet. Too quiet. No movement. No sound. Just open ground stretching out in front of us. I knew something was off before I could question it. Ethan stepped forward, the taller of the two. He spoke, but not in any language I knew. The words were sharp, fluid, almost rhythmic, but not quite. Then he tapped the gate. Once, twice. Again, a pattern, fast. Too fast for me to follow, too precise to be random. This time, Draymond looked at me. Not casually, not passively, expectantly, like he was waiting, studying, anticipating my reaction to something I hadn't even seen yet. Before I could question it, everything changed. The world didn't shift. It revealed itself, the empty space in front of me, unfolded, transformed. My breath caught. Greenery spread across the land, lush but not wild, controlled, intentional, paths carved through it, structures built with purpose, not rough, not hidden, a settlement, a real one. There were open training grounds, smooth and structured, buildings that looked lived in, organized, civilized, but that wasn't what shocked me, not even close. What took my breath was the one thing I had never seen before. People were dancing, actually dancing, not shifting their weight subtly, not taking careful, calculated steps to avoid suspicion, not hiding. They were dancing. Someone twirled freely, their bodies spinning without restraint. Another flipped through the air like gravity didn't matter. Another stood still, isolating parts of his body with precision I couldn't even comprehend. There was music. Real music. Not hushed, not hidden. It filled the space like it belonged there. I stood there in complete awe. Because dancing was a foreign concept. To me, to anyone who lived in the kingdom of Harion. It wasn't something you did. It was something you were punished for. Something you died for. I didn't even realize how long I stood there. Just staring, trying to understand what I was seeing. And then, recognition hit. My breath caught. No. The former head kitchen maid. I knew her. She had been accused, taken, gone, executed. At least, that's what everyone said. My eyes moved quickly. The East Gardens keeper, the stable boy, the scullery maid. Faces I recognized. People I had watched disappear. People I had mourned without even knowing them. They were all accused of harmless dancing. That alone was enough to send them to the dungeons, enough to kill them. And yet, they were here, alive, moving, free. My gaze shifted again. And this time, it landed on something worse. Nobles. Several of them. The ones whispered about. The ones rumored to have been dancing with influence. They weren't supposed to die publicly. They were the ones executed quietly, privately, gone without a trace. And yet, they were here too, alive, all of them. So how were they alive? I stood there in stunned silence, watching, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense. Slowly, I became aware of something else. Draymond. He hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. He was still watching me. That same expression on his face, a small, mischievous smile, like this, like all of this, was exactly what he wanted me to see, and that worried me.
Welcome to the Siren Camp.
Caston's voice broke through everything, calm, steady. I turned to him slowly. My mind was racing. Too fast. Too many thoughts. Too many questions. I couldn't even sort through them properly. I just said it. "What is this place?" I blurted out. "Why are they here? I thought they were dead. Everyone thinks they're dead. Why are they dancing? Why is dancing allowed here but not anywhere else? If this exists, then why is it forbidden? Why were they taken? Why lie about their deaths? Are they prisoners? Or are they free? And if they're free, then why can't they leave? And if they're not, then what is this place really? My chest rose and fell too quickly, but I didn't stop. Why bring me here? I demanded. What do you expect me to do? Become like them? Stay here? Train? Be hidden like they are? My voice dropped slightly. Not softer, but sharper. And what happens to me if I don't? Draymond smiled again. Slow, deliberate. Like he had been waiting for me to ask every single one of those questions.
You will find the answers to your questions,
he said. A pause. His gaze didn't leave mine.
soon enough, whether you're ready for them or not.
Chapter 6. We stepped fully into the camp. The music stopped, abruptly, not naturally. It cut off, like someone had silenced it all at once. Every movement stilled, every dancer froze. Then, they turned toward him, and just like that, they bowed. All of them, at once, to Draymond, but unlike the court, they didn't wait. Didn't stay frozen. Didn't hold their breath like one wrong move would cost them everything. They rose. And then, they rushed him. It was chaos, laughter, voices overlapping.
Where have you been?
You haven't visited in weeks. Months. We thought you forgot us.
Hands reached for him, not cautiously or fearfully. Instead, freely. They hugged him, touched his arms. Some kissed his hands like it was affection, not obligation, not fear. They were happy, genuinely, unapologetically. And Draymond, he smiled. Not the cruel one, not the calculated one. Something lighter, warmer. It didn't fit, or maybe it fit too well.
I've been busy,
He said, his voice calm, softer than I had ever heard it.
but I'll visit more often.
That earned a wave of laughter and teasing complaints.
And I'll be staying here for a while,
He added. A pause. Then,
for a few months.
the reaction was instant. Cheers, excitement. Someone actually clapped. And for a moment, just a moment, I forgot where I was, because this didn't feel like a hidden camp. It felt like a home. My gaze drifted. Some of them were looking at me now, curious, interested, not hostile, not afraid, just curious. A few faces I recognized. The stable boy that had tried to flirt with me once, the old gardener that saved me a flower, and the head cook that brought me meals. They all looked at me and smiled, and then I saw her. Aileen. My breath caught. She looked exactly the same, but brighter, healthier, alive. She had been the only one who tried to be my friend, despite Malia threatening the maids to not speak to me. Yet she was the only one in the kitchens who had ever been kind to me, who had spoken to me like I mattered. Despite Malia, despite everything. She beamed at me, but didn't approach, like she was trying to control her excitement. Before I could move, Draymond turned to me.
I'll have someone escort you to your room.
But before he could even call for someone, Aileen appeared.
I'll take her,
She said quickly, almost too quickly.
Is she staying in the Everglow building, Your Majesty?
Draymond nodded.
Place her in the best room.
My brows lifted slightly at that. Then he looked at me, that same knowing look in his eyes, and before I could react, he took my hand, lifted it, and pressed a kiss against my knuckles. Light, deliberate. Then he winked. And just like that, he was gone. swallowed back into the crowd, the moment he disappeared. Aileen squealed, actually squealed. Then she threw her arms around me. I laughed, a real laugh, and hugged her back tightly. I hadn't seen her in 5 years. 5 years of thinking she was dead. Aileen, I breathed, pulling back slightly to look at her. I thought you were dead. All of you. What happened? Her expression softened.
Scarla,
She said, squeezing my hands.
I prayed every day that you'd end up here.
That made my chest tighten.
Come,
She said quickly.
let me show you your room first. Then I'll explain everything.
She didn't let go of my hand as she pulled me along, and I let her. We walked through the camp, past dancers, buildings, open spaces filled with movement and laughter. No guards, no chains, no fear. It didn't make sense. Not with everything I had been told, not with everything I had seen. We finally reached a building. Beautiful, elegant, nothing like anything I had ever lived in.
This is yours.
Aileen said, pushing the door open. I stepped inside and froze. The room was massive, at least 10 times the size of the space I had slept in at the court. Soft fabrics, warm light. A bed that looked like something only nobles touched. My chest tightened again. This didn't feel real. We sat on the bed. She turned to me, excitement barely contained.
Okay,
She said.
what do you know? Did Dinia explain anything to you?
I shook my head. No, I said. In the court, dancing is still forbidden. Anyone who does it dies. My voice faltered slightly. And yet, you're all here. Alive. She smiled, soft, understanding.
Have you ever wondered,
She said.
why executions were always done in private?
I stilled.
Or why those accused of dancing were thrown into the dungeons and never heard from again?
My stomach tightened.
Well,
She said gently.
that's because King Draymond never kills us.
Silence. Heavy.
This camp connects to the dungeons.
She continued.
We're taken there first, then brought here. Kept safe.
The words sat wrong in my chest. Safe, I repeated slowly. Or trapped. She smiled again, shook her head.
Not trapped.
She said.
We can leave if we want to.
I frowned. Then why doesn't anyone? Her smile softened further.
Because no one wants to.
That didn't make sense,
My life before this was miserable.
she went on.
You know that. I was the lowest of the maids, treated like I didn't exist.
I did know. I had lived it too,
But here,
she continued, her voice brightening.
there's no hierarchy, no nobles above us. The same nobles you saw outside. They work, just like us.
My brows pulled together. They choose to stay? I asked.
Yes.
And they can just leave? I pressed.
Yes.
And no one ever has? I asked again.
No.
Aileen said with no hesitation. I nodded slowly, but I didn't quite believe it. Is everybody here a siren? I asked. Aileen laughed, light, almost amused.
No.
She said.
It's ironic, isn't it? We call this place the Siren Camp, yet out of all 70 of us, only 10 actually are. The rest of us are full-blooded Fae or half-human.
I stilled. What?
And none of the men,
She added.
As far as we know, sirens are only female.
I stared at her, shocked. Then my brows pulled together. Then why are the rest of you here? I asked. Aileen, I don't believe you were dancing. Not even once. Not in the kitchens. Not anywhere. She leaned forward slightly, lowering her voice like what she was about to say mattered more than anything else she had told me so far.
That's the strange part.
she said. A pause.
Most of us weren't.
My breath caught. What?
Yes,
She said.
we were just taken, accused. No warning, no proof. One day we were working, living, existing.
Her voice tightened slightly.
The next, we were in the dungeons.
A chill ran down my spine.
At first, we didn't understand it.
She continued.
We thought maybe it was random, or bad luck, or someone mistaking us for someone else.
She shook her head.
But then yesterday,
Her gaze met mine.
we heard about you.
My chest tightened. What about me?
That you were accused of dancing with influence,
She said.
and that they were going to execute you, publicly.
The word hit harder this time. Publicly,
That's when it clicked.
she said quietly. My pulse started to pick up.
Half the camp knew who you were.
She went on.
They talked about you, how they had helped you before,
My stomach dropped.
even after Malia warned them not to.
Silence. Heavy. Understanding came slowly. Too slowly. I started, then stopped.
She reported anyone who got close to you,
Aileen finished. My chest tightened painfully.
and used her father's power to make sure we were removed.
Removed. Not punished. Not judged. Erased,
For defying her.
she added softly. I stared at her, trying to process it, trying to understand how something like that could even happen. But the nobles, I said slowly. I don't know any of them. They've never spoken to me. Aileen nodded.
I know,
She said.
but they're not here because of you.
I frowned. Then why?
They're all opponents of Lord Byron, Malia's father.
She said. The name settled heavily between us.
People who spoke against him,
She continued.
challenged him, refused to follow him.
A pause.
They didn't disappear by accident.
I leaned back slightly. Everything felt like it was shifting, like the ground beneath me wasn't steady anymore. I nodded slowly, but my mind was racing. How could one man have that much power? How could his daughter enforce it so easily? And more importantly, why hadn't anyone stopped it? Why hadn't Draymond stopped it? He was the king. Nothing was supposed to happen without his knowledge. So why was he letting it? Why was he keeping all of this hidden instead of exposing it? And if Malia hated me so much, why now? Why not kill me years ago? Why wait? My stomach twisted, because suddenly, this didn't feel random anymore. It felt planned, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I had been saved, or finally pulled into something I was never supposed to see. Chapter 7. The next couple of weeks passed faster than I expected. Too fast. At first, everything felt overwhelming. New place, new duties, new reality. But slowly, it settled. Not into something normal, but something manageable. Life in the Siren camp had a rhythm. Mornings were quiet, calm, almost peaceful in a way I had never experienced before. No shouting, no orders being barked across rooms, no tension hanging in the air like something was always about to go wrong. People woke when they wanted, ate together, talked freely, laughed. That still felt the strangest to me. Laughter without fear, without looking over their shoulders, without worrying who might hear. Training came after, every day, without fail. Dinea led most of it, loud, direct, unapologetically bossy. Caston stayed quieter, watching more than speaking, stepping in only when necessary. But when he did, it was precise, correcting the smallest mistakes like they mattered. And Aethan Ethan pushed, relentlessly.
If you hesitate,
He told me once, circling me as I struggled through a movement.
you lose control. And if you lose control, you become dangerous.
I didn't need reminding, not after the first day. At first, I couldn't do it, not intentionally. My body resisted. My mind overthought every step. But slowly, that changed. It started small, a shift, a turn. A breath that lined up just right, and then they moved, not by choice, not fully, but enough. Ethan's fingers twitching, Caston adjusting his stance, Dinea's head tilting a second too late. Each reaction sent something sharp through me. Not pride, not exactly. Something else, something I wasn't sure I liked, because the more it worked, the easier it became. And that terrified me. By the end of the second week, I didn't hesitate anymore. I moved. And they followed. Not completely, not like before, but enough to prove something had changed. Something in me. Every day after training, I would find Aileen. Or she would find me. We sat together, ate together, talked about everything we had missed. 5 years, gone, just like that. She introduced me to others, too. People who had once been strangers, but weren't anymore. There was a strange sense of belonging here, one I had never felt before. And yet, it didn't fully settle in my chest. Not completely. Because no matter how much I tried to relax, there was always something in the back of my mind reminding me this place was hidden for a reason. And then there was him, Draymond. He didn't come to watch my training every day, but when he did, I straightened, tried to focus. He never joined in. Never stepped into the center, never let his guard down. He just watched, from the edges, from the shadows, from wherever he chose. His gaze always on me. Always. Like I was the only thing that mattered in that moment. It should have made me uncomfortable, and sometimes it did, but other times it didn't, which was worse, because I started to expect it, to look for it, to notice when he wasn't there, and when he was, he always said the same thing, without fail.
I have seen many sirens dance.
He said one evening, his voice cutting through the quiet after training. I stilled, my breath catching slightly.
But you
A pause. His gaze didn't leave mine.
are by far the most enthralling.
My cheeks heated instantly. I hated that. Hated that he could do that with just words. Hated that I didn't know how to respond. So I didn't. I just looked away, pretended it didn't affect me, even when it clearly did. But no matter how many days passed, no matter how much I improved, no matter how much I began to understand what I could do, there was one thing that never changed. I still didn't know why I was here. Not really. Draymond had said I could protect the kingdom, or destroy it, but he hadn't told me how, or why. I wasn't given any real duty, no mission, no purpose beyond this. Training, dancing, becoming something I didn't fully understand. It didn't make sense. None of it did. And the more time passed, the more that question grew, louder, heavier. What did he want from me, and why did it feel like I was being prepared? For something I hadn't agreed to? One day, I got tired of it. Tired of not having answers. Tired of everyone knowing something I didn't. So after training, I didn't wait. Didn't let Draymond speak. Didn't let him offer another one of his compliments like it would somehow distract me from the truth. I walked straight toward him, king or not. I would get my answers. When he saw me approaching, he began to speak. I stopped him. I need the full truth, I said. No half information, no speculation, no hints. Tell me everything, plainly. I held his gaze. Or I will leave. Silence settled between us. Not tense, measured. Then he smiled.
Ah,
He said softly.
I suppose it's time for you to know.
He took my hand and led me inside a private building. The door closed behind us. The noise of the camp disappeared instantly. It was just us. I tried to ignore that, tried to ignore how close he was, how his hand was still wrapped around mine, how his presence filled the space in a way that made it harder to think clearly. He stepped closer, too close, his gaze locked onto mine, intense, focused. For a moment, I almost forgot why I came here, almost. I cleared my throat. The sound broke whatever that moment was. He stepped back, not far, but enough. Then he began.
I have never supported my father's methods.
He said. His voice was calm, certain.
Banning a beautiful art form such as dancing, stopping people from expressing themselves, and then killing them when they do.
A pause.
It's barbaric.
I didn't interrupt.
So when my father died,
He continued.
I changed things. I appointed a new executioner,
My attention sharpened.
one who can read minds,
He said.
someone who can determine if a person actually danced and whether they had influence.
That sounds fair, I said quietly.
It was meant to be,
A pause.
but he was only an executioner by name.
I frowned slightly.
I never allowed him to execute anyone.
The words landed, and stayed there. He didn't give me time to respond.
I arranged for every person accused of dancing,
He continued.
whether harmless or with influence, was taken.
To the camp, I said. He nodded.
Me, Denier, Caston, Ethan. We moved them, quietly.
My thoughts shifted quickly, trying to understand why the executioner hadn't said anything. But before I could ask, Draymond continued.
The executioner believes he has carried out every execution,
He said.
but he hasn't.
A pause.
Ethan placed those memories in his mind.
That made my chest tighten slightly.
He is a man of strict beliefs.
Draymond went on.
He would have never agreed to spare anyone accused of dancing. So I didn't give him the choice.
I stayed quiet, letting that settle.
I trusted the executioner
Draymond continued.
because he can read minds and he can see truth clearly.
A pause.
And those with that ability cannot willingly lie about what they see.
That part made sense.
At least,
He added.
not unless something is forcing them to.
Something in my chest tightened at that.
So when I asked him if the accused had truly danced,
He looked at me.
he said yes.
A pause.
But I knew something was wrong, because he hesitated just slightly, but enough to raise suspicion.
I felt my stomach drop.
He wasn't choosing to lie.
Draymond said.
He was being made to.
Silence filled the room.
And then I started noticing a pattern.
He continued.
The people being accused weren't random.
A pause.
They were people who stood against Lord Byron, Malia's father.
That landed clearly, firm.
And after they were accused,
He went on.
they were removed.
Gone. My chest tightened.
More accusations followed.
He said.
Leaders, nobles, anyone who opposed him. The accusations did not come from Lord Byron himself, but I knew he had something to do with it. I knew something was influencing the executioner, making him lie.
Draymond said.
And that kind of control
A pause.
is not a Fae ability.
My breath slowed.
There is only one creature capable of it.
He didn't rush the word.
A siren.
The word settled between us.
But Lord Byron is not a siren.
He continued.
Siren abilities only exist in women.
That part was clear. Simple.
So, I came to one conclusion.
A pause.
He must have found a way to control a siren. Then I heard about you.
My chest tightened.
A maid.
He said.
About to be executed for dancing with influence.
Another pause.
A public execution.
His gaze sharpened slightly.
That should never happen.
I nodded faintly.
I came to stop it.
He said.
Because no one dies under my rule for dancing.
A pause.
But also to understand why. Why a maid was being publicly executed. I knew there was only one person bold enough to summon a public execution without my consent.
His gaze settled on me fully now.
I suspected that if Lord Byron wanted you dead,
Another pause.
it was because you were powerful.
My heartbeat picked up.
So, I tested you.
You made me dance, I said quietly.
Yes. And when you did,
A pause.
I saw it. Real power.
Silence stretched.
And then,
He said.
you told me something important.
The moment tightened.
About who gave the order.
His gaze didn't leave mine.
Malia, Lord Byron's daughter.
Everything stilled.
You talked about how everyone does what she says. That is when I understood.
Draymond said, slow. Clear.
I had been looking in the wrong place.
A pause.
Lord Byron is not controlling a siren. He is working with one.
The air felt heavier now, as I started to realize what he was hinting at.
And not just any siren.
His voice lowered slightly, deliberate.
His daughter,
The word settled like something final.
Malia, half Fae, half siren, just like you.
Chapter 8. Malia. The name stayed in the room long after he said it. I didn't speak, didn't move. I just stood there, letting it settle, trying to make it make sense. Malia. A siren. The same girl who had smiled while I stood on that platform. The same one who had calmly told them she saw me dance. The same one who had watched me almost die. Without hesitation, my chest tightened, not panic. Something quieter, heavier. You're certain? I asked. My voice came out low, careful. Draymond didn't hesitate.
Yes.
He sounded sure, not guessing, not hoping, certain. I swallowed slowly, because if that was true, then everything else had to be too. Malia wasn't just influential, she was the reason people listened. The reason no one questioned her. The reason I ended up on that platform, a siren. The word felt different now, too close, too real. My thoughts shifted, pulled back to something that still didn't make sense. Me. Then why me? I asked. The question came quieter this time, not demanding, just honest. Draymond didn't answer immediately. His gaze stayed on me, measuring, thinking.
I didn't know at first.
He said. That made my brows pull together slightly.
I knew you were powerful.
He continued.
That was clear the moment I saw you move.
A pause.
But I didn't know the extent of the power you had.
I stilled. What do you mean? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped slightly closer, not enough to crowd me, but enough that I had to focus on him.
Those times I watched you train,
He said.
I noticed something.
My chest tightened slightly.
The other sirens
He continued.
could not train when you were.
I frowned. What?
They stopped
He said simply.
every time.
A pause.
At first, I thought it was coincidence.
His gaze sharpened slightly.
It wasn't.
Silence filled the space.
I spoke to them,
He went on.
asked them what they felt,
Another pause.
and they all said the same thing.
My breath slowed.
They said their power
He said carefully.
felt muted,
The word landed heavily. Muted,
as if something was pressing it down,
he continued.
weakening it.
My chest tightened. I hadn't noticed that. I hadn't even thought to,
You don't just influence people.
Draymond said. His voice lowered slightly.
You interfere with influence.
Silence. I stared at him, not fully understanding, but feeling the weight of it. What does that mean? I asked.
It means
He said slowly.
when you use your power,
A pause.
other sirens lose theirs.
The room felt smaller. Too small. That's not possible, I said. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it,
I've never seen it before,
he admitted.
but I've seen enough to know what it is.
His gaze held mine, steady, certain.
You are not like Malia.
A pause.
You are her opposite.
The words settled slowly, too slowly. If she controls, I said quietly.
You disrupt.
He finished. Silence stretched between us. Heavy, final, and suddenly, everything made sense in a way that made my chest tighten. Malia isolating me. Stopping people from getting close to me. Getting rid of anyone who tried. Not because she hated me, but because she was afraid. She knew, I said. The realization came quietly, but it felt loud. Didn't she? Draymond didn't look surprised.
Yes,
A pause,
she may not have understood it fully,
he added.
but she felt it.
My throat tightened. So she got rid of anyone near me, I said.
Yes,
And when that wasn't enough, my voice lowered. She tried to kill me. Draymond didn't soften it.
yes,
Silence filled the space again. But it felt different now. Sharper. Clearer. Because now I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't random. This wasn't bad luck. This wasn't just Malia being cruel. This was targeted, deliberate. I exhaled slowly, then looked at him. So that's why you said it, I said. His brows lifted slightly, that I could destroy the kingdom, or save it. A pause. Understanding settled fully now. If I lose control, I said quietly, I don't just influence people. My chest tightened. I disrupt everything. He nodded.
and if you learn to control it,
He said.
you become the only one who can stop her.
Silence. I let that sit. Let it sink in. Because this was bigger than I thought. Bigger than the camp. Bigger than Malia. This was the entire kingdom. And somehow, I was in the middle of it. I looked down at my hands, then back at him, and for the first time, I asked the question that actually mattered. How do I stop her? The question settled between us. For a moment. Draymond didn't speak. Something in his expression shifted. Subtle, but real. Relief, not dramatic, not overwhelming. Just there, like he hadn't been sure what I would say.
I was hoping you'd ask that,
he said quietly. I held his gaze. I'll help you. The words came easier than I expected, because the truth was, he was right. I didn't have a choice. Not really. Malia had already made sure of that. But not like this, I added. A pause. I'm not doing this because you need me. His brows lifted slightly. I'm doing it because she tried to kill me. Silence. And I'm not letting her finish what she started. Something flickered in his eyes at that. Approval, not control, not satisfaction, respect.
Good,
he said. Just that. And somehow, that felt more meaningful than anything else he could have said. Silence stretched for a moment. Not uncomfortable. Just quieter. Different.
I'll train you differently,
he said after a moment.
Now that I know what you are?
How? I asked. His gaze sharpened slightly.
Not to control people,
he said. A pause.
To break control.
That settled deeper, more dangerous, more precise. I nodded slowly. Then the tension shifted. Not gone, just softer. We talked, not about Malia, not about the kingdom, just things, his life, mine. Strange how easily it came. A king and a servant, and yet somehow not that different. Not in the ways that mattered. When he asked about my parents, I hesitated, then told him. My father said my mother was human, I said. That she didn't want to be seen with a Fae. Draymond was quiet for a moment.
Your father lied,
he said. Not harsh, not dismissive, certain.
To protect you.
That made my chest tighten. I nodded, because that made more sense than anything I had been told before. He died when I was younger, I added. Draymond didn't respond right away, but something in his expression softened. Not pity, understanding. We talked longer than I expected, longer than we should have, until eventually. We reached my door. The moment settled again. Quiet. He stepped back slightly, like he was about to leave, and I expected him to. But then he stopped, turned back, stepped closer, not rushed, not careless, deliberate. His hand lifted, slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His fingers brushed lightly against my jaw, tilting my face just slightly upward. My breath caught. His gaze dropped to my lips, then back to my eyes, like he was asking something without saying it. Then he kissed me, soft, brief, intentional, not overwhelming, not demanding, just enough to make my chest tighten, just enough to mean something, and then he pulled away before I could react, before I could think. A small smirk touched his lips.
Get some rest, little siren,
he said quietly. Then he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, frozen, my thoughts scattered, my heart beating just a little too fast. And for the first time since all of this began, I didn't know what unsettled me more, Malia or him. Chapter 9. The next month passed in the blink of an eye. The siren camp, once strange, unreal, almost impossible, had settled into something dangerously close to comfort. I knew the paths now. the rhythm of the mornings, the way laughter carried across the training grounds when people forgot, even for a moment, what the outside world was like. I knew which corners stayed quiet and which ones filled with music. I knew where Aileen would be at any given time, and how Dinia's voice would cut through the air long before she appeared. It had become my home, and that realization unsettled me more than anything else, because it meant I had something to lose. Training had changed. At first, everything I did felt clumsy, uncertain, like I was reaching for something I couldn't quite grasp. But slowly, something in me shifted. Not confidence, not exactly. Understanding, breaking influence came easily now. Too easily. I didn't even have to think about it anymore. I could feel it the moment it existed. The pull, the unnatural weight in someone's mind, like a thread stretched too tight. And all it took was the smallest movement, the slightest intention, and it would snap. Clean, immediate, final. People would blink, breathe, look around like they had just woken up from something they didn't remember falling into. That part of me felt right. Natural. Like it had always been there waiting. But influencing, that was different. I could manage small things, tiny shifts that barely counted. A glance held a second too long. A smile pulled where it hadn't been before. A step taken without thought. But anything deeper. Anything that touched emotion. I couldn't do it. Or maybe I wouldn't. Draymond noticed before I ever said it aloud.
At your core,
He told me one afternoon, his voice quiet but certain.
you believe it's wrong.
I didn't argue, because he wasn't wrong. There was something about it, about reaching into someone's mind and changing it, that felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. Breaking influence felt like freeing someone, but creating influence? That felt like taking something that wasn't mine to take, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't force myself past that. Strangely, it didn't matter, because the plan we built never required it. Every evening, after training ended and the others drifted back into the ease of the camp, we stayed behind. Me, Draymond, Ethan, Dinia, Caston. We went over everything, again and again. Every possible move Malia could make, every weakness we could exploit, every risk we would be taking the moment we stepped back into the palace. Nothing was left to chance. Not anymore. And in between all of that, something else began to grow, quietly, without permission. Draymond. It wasn't obvious. It never was with him. But I noticed, a hand brushing mine as he passed behind me. Fingers lingering just a second too long before pulling away. The way he would step closer when speaking, lowering his voice just enough that it felt like the words were meant only for me. And then, just as quickly, he would pull back, like he had caught himself, like he was reminding himself of something. We never spoke about it, never crossed that line again. But the tension sat there, constant, unspoken, and impossible to ignore. Aileen, of course, ignored none of it.
You two are exhausting,
She said one evening, leaning lazily against the doorway as she watched us.
Just do something about it already.
I laughed it off. Easier that way. Safer. Draymond didn't laugh. He just looked at me, really looked at me. Like he was considering it, like for a moment. He might actually listen to her, and then he stepped away, back to distance, back to control. I knew why, because I felt it too. This wasn't the time. Not with everything waiting for us. Not with Malia. Not with what I had to become. And somehow, that restraint made everything feel sharper, more real, more dangerous, because it wasn't absence, it was choice. One evening, everything shifted. Draymond called the entire camp together. Not for training, not for planning, just everyone. They gathered slowly, curiosity rippling through the crowd. Conversations quieted as he stepped forward, his presence alone enough to command attention without effort.
We leave tomorrow,
He said. No build-up, no hesitation. The words landed simply. Final. A ripple moved through the camp. Not panic, not fear. Something heavier. Understanding. Aileen didn't react. She already knew. But the others? They groaned softly, some shaking their heads, others exchanging looks that held something deeper than disappointment.
Be careful.
Someone called out. Another voice followed.
Come back alive.
There was no dramatics, no speeches, just quiet concern, real, honest. It settled somewhere deep in my chest, because for the first time, this wasn't just a place I had stayed. It was a place that would feel my absence. The next morning came too quickly. The air felt different, still, heavy in a way I couldn't quite explain. Aileen found me before we left. Of course she did. Her eyes were already glassy when she reached me, and before I could say anything, she wrapped her arms around me tightly.
I can't believe you're actually going,
She muttered against my shoulder. I laughed softly, even as my chest tightened. You knew this was the plan,
I know.
she said quickly, pulling back just enough to look at me.
Doesn't mean I have to like it.
A tear slipped down her cheek, and she wiped it away impatiently.
And when you see Malia,
She added, her voice sharpening instantly.
I want you to bring her head back.
I huffed a small laugh. Of course you do,
I'm serious.
she said, narrowing her eyes.
I've been waiting years for someone to deal with her.
Her attempt at anger didn't quite hide the worry underneath it. I reached for her hand, squeezing it lightly. I'll come back, I said. The words felt heavier than they should have, because this time, I wasn't just hoping it was true. I was promising. She studied me for a moment, then nodded.
Good,
She said.
because if you don't, I'm coming after you myself.
That made me smile. We didn't say anything else. We didn't need to. Because some things didn't need words. When I turned to leave, I didn't look back immediately. But when I did, she was still standing there, watching. And for the first time since all of this began, I felt it fully. Not fear, not uncertainty, but the weight of what we were about to do. Because once we left, there was no going back. Chapter 10. Something was wrong the moment we stepped past the gates. It wasn't the silence. Harion had always known how to be quiet when it needed to be. It was the stillness. The kind that didn't belong to people. The kind that felt placed. My steps slowed without meaning to. The others felt it too. I could see it in the way Ethan's shoulders tightened, in the way Denia's usual sharp expression fell into something more focused, more dangerous. Even Caston, who rarely showed anything at all, had gone completely still. Draymond didn't stop walking. But something about him changed, subtle, immediate. The ease he carried in the camp disappeared, replaced by something colder, sharper, the kind of presence that didn't need to prove itself, the kind that commanded.
Stay close,
He said quietly. Not a suggestion. I nodded once. Then we stepped fully into the courtyard. And everything made sense. People filled the space, hundreds of them. Servants, guards, nobles, all standing too straight, too still. Their heads turned toward us at the exact same moment. My breath caught, not natural, not even close. They're already under, I said, my voice low.
I know.
Draymond replied. At the center, Lord Byron, and beside him, Malia. Her gaze met mine instantly. No shock this time, no surprise, just recognition. Like she had been waiting, Of course she had.
Well,
She said softly, her voice carrying unnaturally far.
you arrived faster than I expected.
My chest tightened. She knew. Not everything, but enough. Lord Byron stepped forward, his voice rising.
People of Harion,
He called.
look at your king, led back to us by the very creature that has twisted his mind.
The crowd shifted. Not freely, pulled, guided.
He has been influenced,
Byron continued, gesturing toward me.
controlled by a siren hiding among you.
Enough.
Draymond's voice cut through him. Calm, cold, final. The word alone cracked something in the air. Some of the crowd flinched. Malia's eyes narrowed. Interesting. Even now, he still held weight. But it wasn't enough. Not against her, not like this. Draymond didn't look at Byron again. He looked at me.
Now.
My heart slammed. I stepped forward and felt it. Her control. Everywhere. Not threads, not strands. A web. Layered, deep, connected. Every person tied into it. Every thought bent just slightly toward her will. My chest tightened. This was what she had been building. Slowly, carefully. A kingdom that didn't think for itself. I took another step and let myself feel it fully. Then, I moved. Not a full dance, but enough. Something cracked. A noble stumbled. A guard blinked, confusion flashing across his face. A servant gasped. Sharp, sudden, real. Malia's head snapped toward me.
No!
I stepped again, stronger. The web pulled tight, fought back, and for the first time, I felt her push against me, direct, sharp. She wasn't just controlling them anymore. She was controlling through them, using them as anchors, as weight, as force. The pressure slammed into me. My breath hitched. This wasn't like training. This wasn't controlled. This was war.
Hold them!
Malia snapped. The crowd surged, not fully free, not fully controlled. Some turned toward us, weapons raised, movements stiff, but coming. Draymond stepped in front of me instantly.
Ethan.
He said sharply. Ethan moved, fast. A pulse of magic rippled outward, memories twisting, disorienting, buying seconds. Caston intercepted the nearest guard, disarming him cleanly. Denia moved like a blade, fast and precise, knocking others aside without hesitation. But it wasn't enough. Too many, too controlled.
Scarla.
Draymond called. I know! I forced myself forward. Into it. Into her. Into the center of it all. And I found her. Malia stood still. But everything around her moved. Controlled. Perfect. Her eyes locked onto mine. And this time, she pushed back fully. The world tilted. For a moment, I felt it. Her power. What it would be like to take control, to bend everything, to stop fighting, and just take it. My breath faltered.
You feel it, don't you?
She said softly, her voice slipping past everything else.
How easy it would be.
The pressure increased. The pull. Stronger, tempting.
You don't have to struggle,
She continued.
You don't have to pretend you're different.
My hands trembled, because part of me understood. Part of me wanted to stop resisting.
Scarla.
Draymond's voice cut through it, sharp, grounding. I held on to it, focused.
You don't need to control them.
He said.
Just her.
Right. Not the crowd, not the chaos. Her. I exhaled slowly and shifted, not outward. Inward, focused, precise. And then I moved, fully this time. Not graceful, not perfect, but real, and everything shattered, not all at once, but violently. The webs snapped, threads breaking everywhere, people gasping, falling, grabbing their heads. The control collapsing in waves. Malia's expression broke. For the first time. Real panic.
No, stop.
I didn't. I pushed harder. And this time, I felt it hit her, directly. Her control faltered, cracked, broke. She staggered back, her grip slipping, losing hold of them, losing hold of everything. The crowd collapsed into chaos. Free, completely. Lord Byron stumbled, looking around wildly.
What is happening?
Draymond stepped forward. And now the people listened. Not because they were made to, because they chose to.
It's over,
He said, and it was. Malia dropped to her knees, breathing hard, her power gone, not weakened, gone. She looked up at me, hatred, pure, burning.
You think you've won?
She said hoarsely. I stepped closer, calm, certain. I know I have. A pause. You never controlled them. Silence. You just took their choice. Her jaw tightened. And now, I said quietly, they have it back. The courtyard shifted, people stepping away from her, from Byron, from everything they had been part of, alone, exposed, finished. Malia's shoulders shook once, then stilled, and for the first time, she had nothing left. Exhaustion hit me all at once. It crashed into me like something I had been holding back finally breaking free. My knees gave out. The world tilted. And then, arms, strong, steady, certain. Draymond. He caught me before I hit the ground, one arm around my waist, the other bracing me against him as if he had expected it. My breath came uneven, my body heavier than it had ever felt.
It's done,
He said quietly, his voice closer now, softer. I didn't answer. I wasn't sure I could, because for the first time since all of this began, the noise in my head was gone. No pull, no pressure, just silence, real silence. And it was overwhelming. I leaned into him without thinking, my hand gripping the front of his tunic as I steadied myself. Around us, the courtyard shifted, not controlled, not forced. People moved on their own. Voices rose, confusion, anger, relief. Guards dropped to one knee, not because they had to, because they chose to.
My king!
The words spread, one after another. Real. Draymond didn't look at them, not yet. His focus stayed on me.
Stay with me,
He murmured. I let out a slow breath. I'm fine, I said, though my voice lacked strength. His grip tightened slightly.
Not convincing.
That almost made me smile. Almost. Slowly, he helped me stand properly, though his hand never fully left me, as if he didn't trust that I wouldn't fall again. Only then did he turn. And when he did, the king returned, not the man from the camp, not the one who teased or lingered too close. This was something else, commanding, unshakable.
Seize them,
He said, no hesitation, no anger, just order. Guards moved immediately, not controlled, not influenced, choosing. Lord Byron didn't resist. Not really. There was nothing left for him to stand on. His power had never been his, and without it, he was just a man. Malia was dragged to her feet. She didn't fight either. Her gaze found mine one last time. No power, no control, just hatred, raw, burning, but beneath it, something else. Defeat. Final. She said nothing as they took her away. Epilogue. Harion didn't go back to what it was. It couldn't. Too much had been exposed. Too much had been taken from people for them to simply pretend none of it happened. At first, everything felt heavy. Confusion, anger, the slow realization that so many choices hadn't been theirs. But truth settled, the way it always does, and once it did, things began to change. Lord Byron fell quickly after that. Without control, he had nothing left. And Malia, her defeat didn't feel victorious the way I thought it would. It felt final, heavy, because everyone finally understood what she had done, and that kind of understanding doesn't come with celebration. The camp didn't stay hidden anymore. People came, carefully at first, then more. They saw the dancers, not as weapons, not as threats, but as people, and slowly, something that had been forbidden for centuries began to return. Music. At first it was quiet, like it wasn't sure it was allowed to exist. Then it grew, and when people heard it, they didn't run from it. They listened. Dancing didn't come back all at once. It started small, a step here, a movement there, until it became something natural again, something free. I didn't belong to just one place anymore. Not the camp. Not the palace. Both. And for the first time, that didn't feel like being stuck between two worlds. It felt like choosing them. My power didn't feel the same either. It wasn't something I feared losing control of anymore. I understood it now. I didn't need to influence people. I didn't want to. Breaking control, giving people their choice back, that was enough. That was always enough. Things with Draymond didn't rush into something simple. They didn't need to. We stayed where we were, somewhere between tension and understanding, between what we were and what we could be. But it wasn't uncertain anymore. It wasn't something we avoided. It was something we allowed, something we chose not to rush, and somehow, that made it stronger. Now, when he reaches for me, I don't pull away. I don't question it. I just let it happen, because I want to. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the music carried through the courtyard again, I stood watching people move, freely, without fear, without restraint. And for the first time, no one stopped them. Draymond stood beside me, close, steady. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. He just reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't hesitate. I took it. And as the music filled Harion once more, I stepped forward, not into control, not into power, but into something that had always been mine, something that finally felt like it belonged to me. Freedom.